long time ago in a galaxy almost far, far away, four makers unite in order to share and discuss their maker knowledge and some interesting topics along the way. Join us as we light the spark that brings back your childhood in the Almost Star Wars show!
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Almost Star Wars show. And I'm James from the Rebel Base Build. And as always, I'm here with my friends.
Dennis with the Black Market Outpost.
Ron, otherwise known as the CG artist.
And Brian with the Smuggler's Room.
That's right. I call them friends. Okay, so we've got some exciting topics for you today. We have just come off the back of watching all 3 episodes of Andor. So we're going to be talking about Andor today. And it's going to be a complete spoiler conversation. So if you don't want to have your weekend spoiled, if you're planning on losing yourself in Andor, then go and watch something else for about half an hour and come back then.
A few moments later.
So who wants to tell me what they thought? Let's tell everybody. What do we think? I mean, I loved it, but what did you guys think?
You know, it's refreshing to see an adult/drama-filled version of Star Wars. Now, I have to admit, there's some things that looked a little bit out of place, like bricks, earth extractors. What else? It's just a few things in the background, but I soon got past all of that, just due to wanting to know more about the characters and just the way everything was put together. I mean, even the droid showed emotion without it didn't even have to speak English or say anything. Just the motion and the eye showing its shyness, things like that just really made the show for me. Now, it's not all roses. There are a couple of things that actually it's only really minor things that I found quite odd. Aside from the in-world stuff, the way episode 1 and 2 ended abruptly, both of them, seemed kind of odd. Now, episode 3 ended, really nice with this climactic ending, but the first 2 episodes ended just weird. But aside from all that, I'm loving the show so far. And if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it 9 thumbs out of 10 thumbs. That's weird.
I think I agree with that ending on that first episode. It almost seemed like, oh my God, we reached our 44 minutes. Cut.
Yeah.
And it looks like the episode 1 and 2 were like, obviously were filmed to like just flow one into the other.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost seems like it may have all been filmed at one time or place, and then they just decided, okay, 44 minutes, cut. But you do get that feeling on 1 and 2. You're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I have to agree with Ron. It's Star Wars for mom and dad. It's very, and I don't know, for some reason I thought like the slow pacing of it was just like very key and important to how those first 2 episodes went. It was very slow paced. It was very like drawn out. A lot of it was left to interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they went and did the flashbacks as a child, where there was no interpretation of the language. Yeah, I thought that was like brilliant.
That was brilliant.
That left you to, okay, like lip sync theater almost, right? Fill in the blank. What do I think he's saying?
Yep.
It was just all around. I thought it was great.
And those flashbacks were short. They weren't long and drawn out where you were like, man, I just want to get back to the story. It was just enough to give you an idea where things were going and then bring you right back to where you wanted to be.
Right. Enough for the Tusken Raiders already. Oh, sorry, wrong show.
I mean, it's a good point, right?
I think it also like the way they weaved him in there. It wasn't like where sometimes they came in at odd points and you were still like, oh, okay, now I get it. This totally fits. But in the beginning, you're like, wait, why are we doing a flashback in the middle of, him walking down the sidewalk or whatever else is going on? But they put it together so well, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
And you could tell that within the first 2 minutes that this was different. It was just deeper. I mean, the way they started off with the lights, which, by the way, I have to make some of those lights. I'm not sure where I'm going to put them, but I need to make those. But the way the lights were, just the acting from the very beginning, the hair design, it was just different, right?
You know what it is? What I liked about it is, we're all saying it's adult Star Wars, which it is. I totally agree with that. I mean, saying the word you can bleep that out later, is now a Star Wars thing because of it being an adult show. But it's actually, I think, more of a drama, right? It feels like a drama,
Yes.
but in the Star Wars universe. Now, my missus watches a shed load of dramas, and okay, I get pulled into it every now and then. I'll
Sure.
start one, and I know I shouldn't. Episode 1 will be on. I'll sit down just for 5 minutes with a cup of tea. 1 hour later, now I want to watch the next one. That's it. I know my week is now going to be watching this drama with the wife. So I try not to do that too often. I'd rather be in here making stuff. Sorry, missus. But drama for Star Wars, God, it just works. Honestly, I was so blown away by it. I'm not going to go into it right now. I'll try and break my bits up into let you guys talk. But honestly, I've got so much to say on this. The whole run, you talked about the lights. I knew instantly when the camera was looking up at the lights and they were going past, this is drama. This is deep. Every single scene is going to mean something. It's going to really have something to say. There's no throwaway scenes in this. And that's how I felt. It just felt so, honestly, for me, the best Star Wars show I've seen. I'm super hyped. I'm loving it.
Even as far as like the earthly things that Ron was mentioning, these are some places we've never seen before. So, I mean, there could have been bricks around forever. We don't know. Even the earthly stuff, they sort of found a way to make it fit. Yeah, it was a little bit out of place to the person who studies this stuff like we do, but it went by quick enough to where, okay, it was a brick, and then you're back into the story. There you go. That's the word. Exactly.
I think they've done bricks before, though. I think on Jeddah, when some of the plaster's blown away from the wall on the arch, I think there's some bricks there, but they're bigger. They're not like, old London style house bricks or American style house bricks. I mean,
I've seen a ton of feedback on, on all the various places that you see it, Facebook or wherever. And there was a lot of comments of it was slow, or I wasn't sure about the pace and that kind of thing. I was a big fan of Game of Thrones, and there's a lot of incredible action and great scenes and stuff like that happen in that series. But there's so much spent around character development and giving characters time to breathe, giving the environment time to breathe, letting the show develop. That's what I've wanted from the Disney Plus live series since it started. And we just haven't got that. I want to get immersed into understanding where these characters are in a setting that we like. And I think that's what we're getting. And I think that's what is turning some people off and getting some people crazy excited is we've never seen this before from a Star Wars show at all, right?
Yeah.
Early on when we were at Celebration and they showed the Andor previews, I think we were back in the Airbnb at the time. I remember Brian telling you, I was like, have you seen it yet? And you were like, no, I haven't. I was like, it's unlike anything you've ever seen before.
I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's dark, right? It's dark. And that intro, that first 5 minutes felt like I had combined Star Wars, Blade Runner, and Tron all into one episode. And I was hooked. I'm done. Like, you did exactly what I wanted you to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't agree more. That whole sidewalk walk where he's walking through their red light district, like Blade Runner was running through my head the entire time. I was like, I've seen this before. Right? I know this.
And he goes into a cantina that there's obviously companionship, right? Like that's what that place was all about. And I'm like,
absolutely.
Sweet. All right.
There was some interesting goings on in those glass spheres, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Right. Not that I pause framed it in any way, but there were some weird things going on in there. It's just it's interesting to have this different take on Star Wars, and I don't remember being this excited about new Star Wars. In fact, I don't think I ever have been. The pace it is slow, but that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing, as you were saying, Brian. I think that's great because it gives everything time to find its feet. If you think about some of the Boba Fett episodes where so much happened, you couldn't really understand the character motivations. I'm talking about Boba here, and I've said it before, even Cad Bane asks him what his angle is at the end. And I think that's because there was no space in between, right, we're doing this now. Okay, now we're doing this. Yeah. Andor has lots of just long dramatic moments of Andor walking somewhere or B going somewhere else, and it means something because they're thinking about something, and it just brings so much more drama to what you're watching.
Like I wasn't bored with the pace. It'd be one thing if it was really slow and I'm like, man, I wish something would happen. But even when things are building to whatever. There's either eye candy on the screen from all the different stuff we all want to make, or it's just trying to digest some of those environments as a whole to get a feeling for where you are. There was so much happening that I wanted to, just to take it all in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to pause it so many times, and it's just like, it was overwhelming, just overwhelming. Right.
Yeah.
So we had talked about that in the past, and I just I was trying to figure in my own head, how am I going to watch this for the first time? Am I just going to let it run through? Am I going to stop and check out everything that's going on? What
did you end up doing?
I ended up watching it all the way through, all
There you
3
go.
episodes, as if I was in a theater, for example, and then
Right.
Yeah.
second and third time I went back and pause play.
Yeah.
What I can't understand is the runtime on these. I guess I'm sort of confused. I get the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and all those, because they're kind of the Saturday afternoon serial, so those could be shorter. But I don't understand this one not being like a full hour long.
Yeah.
Why isn't it a Game of Thrones or one of those other long dramas that it's a 58-minute or 56-minute runtime? Am I the only one that looks at that and goes, what?
No, I think you're right. And I spent a bit of time thinking about that on my commute today. I know, sad, but I was thinking the first 2 episodes could have quite easily have been an episode. And so what if it would have been an hour and a half? I mean, Stranger Things did it. Lots of those episodes were really long.
My God, when we were kids, every new series that started was a 2-hour special.
Yeah.
Right.
First night or first episode or pilot.
But I got to say, if you did just watch, if they just dropped one episode, the internet would be saying different things today, because
I agree.
Not that it was a bad episode, but it had to be watched in context. And I think they nailed it by dropping three at a time, because it was
episode had an arc, right?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So here's a question: why not just edit it into one long movie? I mean, that would have worked.
That would have worked big time. I mean, because you can almost see with all 3 put together. It's almost to a point where now it's almost like the show is about to change. It had that feeling like, okay, you understand the past, you see where he's going. Now going forward, we can tell this other part of the story. You're not going to see some of these characters anymore. It's now we've established it. It just felt like it was this finality in the beginning to something else.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in one of our chats that it felt like it was a chapter, almost as if you were reading a book. And hey, these 3 episodes are going to close chapter 1. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah, we all know what those 3 episodes were, what the aim was, what the goal was. It was to get to that super sweet Corellian shit at the end.
Yeah.
Right. those 2 seconds where they walk up the ramp and they walk past that beautiful corridor into the cockpit. For me, I
nerded out so hard.
That was just beautiful. It's everything you love about the Falcon and then some.
Yeah.
So when he whistled to activate the ship, I think I rewound that and watched it 2 or 3 times to actually figure out what was going on.
Dude, I ran outside and started whistling and nothing happened.
I was expecting.
So mad.
In all honesty, when he whistled, I was expecting, he's got a droid companion or something.
That's what I thought.
He's gonna fire. Something's gonna.
Yeah.
Then all of a
Sure,
sudden,
Indiana Jones' force
or something.
Right. Doors open and steam's coming all over the place, and it was just. I was like, oh my God, he just activated the ship with a whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a fair amount of kind of drama espionage, political espionage kind of things happen, right? I have a feeling that's where we're going. I do too. I hope so too, because it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
At least.
So I was thinking, I was trying to remember all the names. Cyril, right? Cyril's the bad guy. Yeah. Is it that Cyril?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting character there, because. And it's the drama again that makes everything feel so important, right? So if you think about what happens, Andor accidentally kills the dude and then realizes it's going to cause him some trouble, so kills the other dude.
Yep.
And really all that's happened is sort of 2 people have been killed, and it's really annoyed Cyril. He's like, "Oh my God, how can this happen?" So it really becomes an obsession of his to put that right. But think about that in the concept of in the context of other shows. People get dead all the time in Star Wars. Yeah. Pew pew. So what made that any different? Well, nothing really. But the way it was filmed made you really, really care about the fact that that's happened.
Yes.
And everything around it. makes it all. So even when he does those long, when Cyril does those long stares, you just know his whole world is falling to pieces because this has happened kind of on his watch, sort of thing.
And like it's like a focus, right? Is what you're kind of saying. Is that it's like we're looking at a smaller lens to a smaller event and seeing how it affected the group of people that surrounded that particular event. And I think that's what, I don't want to go off on a what's missing from Star Wars, because that's not what I mean, but it's, if you're going to do series like they're doing versus movies, then what I want to see are those little individual snapshots of a particular character or group within this crazy huge thing that's happening between the Empire and everybody else, and laser focus it in on that. So imagine how many different experiences you could have knowing the story arc, but how those experiences would be viewed by you if you knew the individual people. Like the fact that there wasn't a stormtrooper in this episode, or all three, made me so happy. I love seeing stormtroopers, but there was no fan service. It was like, we're going to tell you a story you've never seen. You didn't know you wanted it, and now you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right down to the guy hitting the dong, the
bells.
Alarm clock,
Yeah.
Which seemed like quite a job for him. A lot of grunting.
He was into it. He was
big
into
heavy
it.
hammers, man.
Yeah, he was all into it. Yeah, I feel like the serial character's like an obsessed company man almost.
Yes.
Right? He doesn't care who the two people are that were killed are. I think he more or less cares that, hey, they were officers
of the Empire.
In
service of what they're doing. Yeah.
Correct.
It's the principle of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's
under the regional control of the Imperial.
It's almost like one of those guys who will not stray from the rules, period.
Yeah.
And I like how the other guy almost looks like he's kind of aiming for his job and manipulating rather than helping. It just seems a little, there's something more to that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you guys haven't picked up or even mentioned this to me on group chat, since I'm from London, that there's so many people that sound like they're from EastEnders.
I didn't want to be an ass.
Yes.
I didn't want to be a jerk, man. I was really worried to be like,
I love
does
that.
James know that all of his people are kind of the bad guys?
Oh, no nonsense, mate.
There was some Irish in there and everything. Yeah.
Even the guy on the door, no nonsense, mate.
Yeah.
I love it though, because it says something about that working culture of that planet, and it kind of arcs back to when London looked like that, small red bricks everywhere. I get it. And what they're doing with it, they're layering it up. I think on the Facebook group, I can't remember who it was, but someone said that the movie is the show is layered up of different movies, and you can see it right from even Wally. The scene at the beginning where B2 or whatever he's called was sort of roaming around the landscape up onto the ramp. That scene's lifted almost exactly from Wally. And that's just one thing.
Same
it's great.
scenario.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It was a beautiful spot. It was a beautiful scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's felt. I mean, even I think aside from the story, for us in this group, since we make stuff all the time, it was like a candy shop. Right? I mean, when you watch that, all I could think of is, oh, I've got a whole new list of stuff. And the first thing I thought was, thank God my room's not done, because I got all kinds of new ideas.
Yeah, all this is coming down. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
No, you're right. And I think what this show does as well, because normally when I watch, I think, Ron, you said earlier that some of the things looked a bit Earth-like. And you know what? Weirdly, for me this time, that was okay, because when I've seen that before in shows, it's kind of just really put me off. But there was a few things I noticed them all. Like, for example, the jack, the button that he picks up and he presses in the workshop to lift it's lifted out of every single workshop garage that there is around here. It's even probably exactly the same device, And also in the background, when they were talking, there was some normal cupboard units, sort of just cupboard doors with handles, like you'd see in a kitchen. I don't know whether you saw that. And then there's the shop that's selling. And Brian, you're going to love this already. That's selling the control panels. It's just normal. Here's a shop. We're selling control panels. Look, they're all hanging up around me. And I've even got some Arabesh on my sign above my head. It's just great. It's like they've taken Earth and Star Wars it, which I've not really seen in Star Wars before. And it's working.
Why do you guys think it works? So James, directly, all you guys answer, but why does that work for you? I know why it does for me, but I want to hear.
I think it works for me because A, I've never seen it before in Star Wars, and I want to see something fresh. And B, because I live on Earth, so I can relate to it. But I think mainly it's the fact that the drama and the pacing of it just makes it all feel right. And I can't put my finger on why, but it just makes it all feel right. Everything feels important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's almost like the simplicity of it with the pacing of the show. You just buy into it and you're like, oh, okay, that's a cabinet. That's a brick. That's a car lift with no cars.
Exactly.
Yeah, like that room where all the things are falling. That could easily have gone another direction and not been, you know, it would have looked so out of place, but it somehow worked. And the only thing in there that was Star Wars-esque was the front door that slides open that you have to manually open and close, by the way.
Yeah.
And laser fire.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's it. Everything was like a warehouse on Earth, but
that room was 100% train yard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it worked.
Yeah.
Chain hoists on the ceiling, engine blocks hanging from them.
Yeah. Even the music when Andor was walking across the shipyard, I think it was like rock music with guitars and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care. It works. It's just working for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's continuity. So everything is shot the same. It's weathered and aged the same. It all feels like it belongs in the same place. And it's hard to explain that, but like if you had I've seen sci-fi movies where they'll put a bunch of stuff on the wall and I'll actually recognize something as being from Home Depot, or that's a foam core box from a TV.
Right.
It would be okay if the continuity of that worked within the environment. Because in that little shop where all the control panels are hanging, which is insanely awesome to me for some reason. But in front of that shop, there's a basket. It's a wire basket that you've seen at a million other places. And there were plumbing parts sitting in it that are actually stuff you'd find in a box store that you would buy at a hardware store.
Yeah.
But it was the set dressing was continuous throughout, and it made it work for me anyway.
Yeah, I think like they kept the basic recognizable stuff subtle yet out in the open, which was another weird thing. Like you could obviously see it, but it didn't like really bother you or feel out of place or anything like that.
There's a lot of the stuff that they put up at Batuu in Disney that's in that show. There are literally Greebly molds that are on walls and stuff that I recognized because I'm that nerd.
I wonder if the reason why it works is because, and when I say it doesn't feel like Star Wars, it does feel like Star Wars, but it's so removed from any Star Wars we've seen that when you see things that perhaps don't normally appear in Star Wars, it doesn't matter so much because you've already been poured into something that's new. Yeah. It's new, isn't it? Whereas, The Mandalorian, unmistakably kind of Star Wars, the way that was produced, Tatooine, Jawas, Sandcrawlers, as soon as you're in the first season, Star Wars. So when you see something out of place, it really jolts you. And I'm going to go there, Book of Boba Fett. You know what I'm going to say? Those speeders, those goddamn speeders, they just jolt you straight out of it. I actually don't think they would, and please don't want them to be in Andor, but I really don't think they would as much in Andor because, hell, look at the bus. Look at the flying bus.
I was going to say, the bus
red and cream.
Is a perfect example. Yep.
I would have hated that elsewhere, but I'm like, it's working. It's working. I don't know what it is.
I don't either, man. I don't either.
So here's the question. How much of this is Tony Gilroy? How much is this a director or a showrunner not being a super fan?
I think you nailed it on the head right there, Dennis. I think that's exactly why we're seeing it the way we are, because he seems, by all articles and things I've looked at, it seems like he came in and said, "This is what I'm going to do. Take it or leave it."
Right.
And I'm guessing because of his involvement in Rogue One and making that such a successful movie for them, and what he did after to help fix whatever problems they were having.
Right.
I think that solidified him within Disney of saying he can handle it. I mean, because you got to admit, it's pretty ballsy. He comes in and does this kind of mixed medium of stuff. He has basically what amounts to an escort bar or a brothel, which is what they call it.
Yes.
There's implied sex scene right in the show, right? And then he uses the word like right out of the. He's just like, I'm doing
Yeah.
all that, and I don't care what you guys think.
Totally.
Pretty good.
And Andor is the and that it's great.
Yeah. It is.
As soon
It
as
really
as soon
is.
as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we are in a different world of Star Wars
Yes.
right here.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh, and let's not forget all the actors. I mean, everyone did their job great. No one phoned it in. Even the droid had plenty of emotion.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
Such a key role too.
Yeah.
And the
Oh, yeah.
flashbacks where he's like sharp and witty and ready to go. And nowadays he's
Clean.
worn
Yes.
down and he's
Yeah.
stuttering and he's barely
Yeah.
getting through and he's, can't string more than one or two lies together and all the other stuff.
Mhm.
It was almost as if the droid had the flashback as well, because
Yeah.
the droid's coming up towards, and then the blast door appears, and you got this shiny
Yeah.
new version of B.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is he really thinking about this, or no? It's just a show showing us what happened before. But I think the way they kind of weaved all that together was genius. With like you said earlier, Dennis, with the fact that there was no words over the screen with the speaking. You
Yeah.
were just it was
Right,
just
right.
left for you to work out what was going on, and there was a lot of that
Yeah.
in there, which kind of reminded you that it was meant for adults. So there was a conversation, wasn't
Right.
there, between Andor and the other dude. I'm terrible with the names at the minute.
Me
Where
too.
he was asking him to lie for him,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of watched the first part. I watched the first part of it again with my son this evening because I wanted to try and. I did say I think you might find this one a bit difficult to gel with because he's 8, but he's quite a grown up 8, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to know if he realised the interchange between the two, where he carried on the lie, if you like. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
and I didn't like your choice of drink or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's those assumptions that you're an adult viewer that you get those things because it's not in your face. It's not
No.
obvious.
Right.
How did
You
he
have to
respond? How
interpret
did your
it.
son respond to it?
He got it. He got it. But he's
Yeah,
quite
but did he
switched on
like
kid,
the
but-
show?
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah.
Okay.
I just watched him. He just, like me, he just became transfixed by it.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I really,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see more.
Yeah, I got this feeling when I was watching it, and I know this. It kind of it sucks and it's good at the same time. I'm like, what if they redid all of them like this? I'm like, how would this treatment be on absolutely everything? I would love it. Could you imagine all of it? Episodes 1 through 9. This treatment. I mean, yeah, it would be season after season. It just, but it would work so well. I mean, we
had this conversation before, didn't we, Ron? I mean, didn't we? In a previous episode, we said, well, do we want to see adult Star Wars? I think that was actually the words we used. And I'm here to say I'm glad we're seeing adult Star Wars.
Yeah, the answer is yes. We would like to see that.
I think there'll be more as well. I think they know it's going to work. They can tell already that people are loving it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the ratings everywhere are high. I was curious to see today what it would be on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and all of those. They're all in the upper 80s, 90s, 4 or 5 star kind of stuff. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
So if they look at Obi-Wan, Mandalorian, and Andor, and then take those 3 and go forward. I'm not going to say Boba Fett because it just seemed it's not in the same league as these 3 in my opinion. I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
It's just not.
It's not.
It's not.
But I could
not.
see them. I could see them, and I would be good with this. I could see them making these wide range of shows filmed in different ways within the same universe. So that A appeals to the younger audience and B, the fanboy or fangirl audience. And then we're going to try some crazy stuff over here and see what happens.
Right. Agreed. I mean, we're talking Disney, right? Let's forget about Star Wars. We're talking Disney. The audience,
money.
It's not even the money, but think about the audience. The audience for Disney is 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
wide range.
Here's something else I thought about as I'm watching this. When they brought over the Marvel series that were all on Netflix, Daredevil, Luke Cage, those were all a little bit on the not so Disney side.
Yeah, edgy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They brought them over. They put them in a separate category, which you have to password to get if you want to watch it. And I wonder how much of that was like testing the waters to get to lead into something like this, to where they could, start to turn Star Wars maybe down that dark road or that edgy road.
Well, they started filming Andor a while back, right? I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
You can tell. I mean, it's just the production value. Could you imagine if Boba Fett was filmed in this way? I think we would have gotten a much better Boba Fett.
I was thinking, how would it go on?
I still feel that Boba Fett is more of a directorial issue than an actual script. I feel like the person that ran the show wasn't the right person for a Star Wars series.
Yeah.
One or two episodes where he's being coached by someone else, or hey, that's not going to work, or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you give him the reins to run an entire series on his own, he's going to want to make it his own.
Sure.
And I think you're also dealing with a massive problem that I've been screaming about since Lucasfilm sold it to Disney. And that's, stop making things you think we want to see and make things we've never seen before and feed us that. It's great to have cameos and it's cool to have some of that nostalgia, but I don't want to see any more of that stuff. I want to see stuff like what we're watching right now that I don't have any idea other than I know, and I get it. Andor dies, he joins the rebels, but I don't know any of the story about that. This is dark stuff that you can take.
Agreed. And even if you want to take that route, do it like you did Mandalorian. Nobody knew anything about it. The first 5 or 6 episodes, we're all waiting to see what happens. And then you get a Bo-Katan, or you get a visit to
Luke Skywalker,
Tatooine, or Luke Skywalker in the end.
Yeah. I think the only cameo I would like to see, or fan service, is towards the end of season 1. Maybe something happens to B. I've got a feeling that B actually evolves into K2. I don't know why I keep thinking that, but the personalities are similar, right? The personalities are similar. The voice is different. Obviously, the droids are a different body, but that would be good if something went wrong, and during the whole Andor becoming part of the rebellion, there's an Imperial mission, and they capture a K2 model. I don't know, that would work really well. Yeah, but those kind of cameos are fine because they're kind of linked directly to his story. Right?
Exactly.
And I think what's working well for all of us, it seems, and we haven't had a lot of time to talk about this together because we've been at work and it was only out last night, is the fact that we don't know where it's going to go. Yes, like you say, we know he's going to die on a beach with a woman. Sounds great. But ultimately, it's what happens. We know it's BBY5, right? So there's those 5 years of what the hell happened. How did he get from that kind of scruffy ass dude into this? Well, I mean, he's obviously still quite talented in terms of looking after himself, but there's a journey he goes on, and man, am I with him on that journey.
Absolutely.
I think that's episode 4 is we're going to jump into the rebellion pretty quickly here. I think
I don't know about that.
I think their escape now, 2 of them leaving. The next thing you know, we're gonna be on Yavin 4, episode 4.
Well, we got Saw Gerrera, haven't we?
Here's my opinion on that, Dennis. I don't think we'll see real tangible things about the rebellion until episode 12. I don't think we'll see any of that till the very end. But I could be wrong. I'm not gonna be angry if you're right and I'm wrong or whatever, but
I can see that.
You'd be rushing it, like we've got this cool pace going.
Right.
We're at dinner now. Let's just enjoy dinner, and then we'll have a glass of wine, and we'll see where the night goes.
I could see that happening.
Well, obviously we've got lots to talk about on Andor, and I'm sure we're going to be doing a little bit more of that a bit further down the line. It's exciting stuff, and I am so there for it. But guys, obviously, tell us what you think in the comments below. We're totally hyped. Hope you are. And thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you soon.